If you're bored, it's because someone else is fulfilling his dream. Become a bore. It's the most interesting thing you'll ever do. This is the trouble with cheating. There are no acceptable rules or laws. It could be a smile or dancing to a song that you considered to be indefinably ours. It can feel like cheating to go to a restaurant that you used to go to with someone else. Keeping photographs of exes can infuriate, like retrospective cheating. Songs are all poetry, and they don't make any sense. I tell you, once a girl's got a dose of novels, she's a pushover for iambic pentameter. So much of life is not about whether you're good or bad, or right or wrong, or can afford or not afford, it's just about timing. Shorts are silly. Men in shorts are silly men, and silly is the very worst thing a man can be. Nature gave you your look, and there's only a limited amount you can do about that, but what you wear is the skin you choose for yourself. And learn to tie a bow. It's not difficult, and there's no excuse for either a clip-on or the hideous Hollywood straight tie. I don't do dinner parties. I have people come to share the food I've cooked for the family. I can tell very quickly when people are lying. I don't go to the openings of shops or parties given by people I don't know. When I joined the Sunday Times, the people I was competing with were all 10 or 15 years younger. They all had double firsts from Oxford or Cambridge. They were all bright as new pins. Margaret Thatcher was as viscerally hated at home as she was warmly respected abroad. You can propose marriage naked or in handcuffs, but no one is going to agree to forsake all others for a man in shorts. You can't declare war in shorts or deliver a eulogy in shorts. The suit is the polite taming, the socializing, the neutering of riding in military kit. Those pointless buttons on the cuff were moved from lateral to vertical. My only piece of advice is that all of you consider every single text and Snapchat that you ever make as also being shared with your partner, because they all check your phones all the time. Trust me on this one. Trying to learn to be a good man is like learning to play tennis against a wall. You are only a good man, a competent, capable, interesting, and lovable man, when you're doing it for or with other people. The only acceptable cravat is the original Croat one. Read more at The real question is, if you knew there was a God, would you behave any differently? And if the answer is yes, then perhaps you should assume there is. I'm frightened of my innate vanity. I mean, the suit's lined with scarves. Even I know the warning signs. I could quite easily end up in a tiny Playboy mansion, all on my own. If New York is a wise guy, Paris a coquette, Rome a gigolo, and Berlin a wicked uncle, then London is an old lady who mutters and has the second sight. She is slightly deaf and doesn't suffer fools gladly. Have you noticed that almost all the change in the world goes to women? When was the last time you had a 5-pence piece? Exactly, in a Christmas pudding. All the rest of it is in women's handbags. Frightened is the natural state for all men. Read. The measure of a man's life is how he copes with the terrible wall of fear. For men, privacy means not being told stuff that would hurt. For women, secrecy is having stuff go on behind your back. Clothes make it the man. They don't make you some other man. I've often been accused of dressing too well. I've always been fascinated by fashion, though I don't think I'm particularly fashionable. The Creation Museum isn't really a museum at all. It's an argument. It's not even an argument. It's the ammunition for an argument. It is the word made into bullets, an armory of righteous revisionism. Gift-giving is one of the oldest forms of human interaction. It is a behavior all cultures and all classes share. Gifts are an important and necessary part of our collective lives. We need to give and we need to allow others to give. The super rich watch each other like envious owls to see who's got a slightly better loafer, a pullover made from some even more absurdly endangered fur. They will go to any lengths to find the best tailors. Being able to afford everything you desire is not, by any means, the worst thing that can happen to you, but, depressingly, and more profoundly, neither is it the best. The London police have discovered that the best way to neuter demonstrations is not to move everyone on or disperse troublemakers, but hold them close, cordon them into a diminishing space for hours and hours, as a sort of arbitrary alfresco arrest. Suits are malevolent magician's sleeves for socialists, full of patrician loops and tricks, small, embroidered, cryptic messages of deference and privilege. They are ever the uniform of the enemy. They are also the greatest British invention ever. Every man imagines that he will turn his suit like a double agent, that it can be twisted to his will with irony or comedy, that the man can undermine its origins. London is a city of ghosts, you feel them here, not just of people, but eras, the ghost of empire, or the Blitz, the plague, the smoky ghost of the Great Fire, that gave us Christopher Wren's churches and ushered in the Georgian city. When you look at traditions closely, examine what they really are, you realize they're made up of layers and layers of deferrals, delays and decisions, tomorrows and long lunches. Other people's traditions look charming and decorative and exotic. They're nice places to visit on holiday, but you wouldn't want to live with one. Hate numbs the judgment, paralyzes the vitals of democracy. Only people who live outside cities realize the size of them. London turns out to be huge. There are great swaths, vast panoramas, a whole diaspora I'd never imagined. The place I live in tends to be manageably small, a few familiar journeys and destinations. So, being a good man is not an exam or a qualification. It changes, and it incorporates being a good friend, a good father, a good employee, a good boss, a good neighbor and a good citizen. It is impossible to be taken seriously in shorts. No one has ever cared about anything said by a man in shorts. 20 is a tough age because it slips past in the middle of so much else: university, gap year, leaving home, getting jobs. The one thing politicians will always vote for is more politics, so in 2000, they invented the post of Mayor of London, without ever really thinking what it was a mayor would do. A cravat is the only item of named after Croatians. Balkan mercenaries were brought to Paris by Louis XIV. Their strange and exotic attire attracted the French bonhommes, who were wearing formal ruffs, and who immediately took to the simple and relaxed military cloth tied at the neck. Texting isn't writing. It's not like letter writing. Texting is short script writing. It's a collaborative soap opera where nothing happens. When Americans come to London, they usually say how much they love the history, the tradition, the splendid tum-ti-tum of things whose very repetition has become their point. Penicillin and plastic bags help a lot. Fridges and hot water make manliness more comfortable, and Tom Ford's fragrance range makes it smell better. But the idea that has pushed our lives into the light, more than any other isomorology, is feminism. The pleasure in lovers' gifts is that they are often covert and secretive, worn next to the skin, hidden under pillows. Boredom is not a thing. It's not a feeling or a condition. It is the absence of feelings, things and conditions. I generally only eat one meal a day, which is pretty unusual for a restaurant reviewer. It's not that I have a problem with food. I'll eat anything that doesn't involve a bet, a dare, or an initiation ceremony. Because there is no better tool for writing than experience. It has very little to do with grammar and everything to do with knowing. London is a city of ghosts, you feel them here, not just of people, but eras, the ghost of empire, or the Blitz, the plague, the smoky ghost of the Great Fire, that gave us Christopher Wren's churches and ushered in the Georgian city. All people from small islands dance funny. Have you ever wondered why the rich and privileged care about, or even bother with, the gift bag? Because they don't need this stuff. If they wanted it, they could afford to buy it without blinking, but they love the gift bag beyond reason. I don't remember ever stealing things, but I suppose I was endlessly borrowing money off people. This is the trouble with cheating. There are no acceptable rules or laws. It could be a smile or dancing to a song that you considered to be indefinably ours. It can feel like cheating to go to a restaurant that you used to go to with someone else. Keeping photographs of exes can infuriate, like retrospective cheating. When you look at traditions closely, examine what they really are, you realize they're made up of layers and layers of deferrals, delays, indecisions, tomorrows and long lunches. No British TV company could ever make a series like The West Wing about British politics. It would beggar credibility. No one could write it with a straight face or perform it without giggling. I'm terribly prone to anxiety. I get very depressed and I get very anxious. And my anxiety is almost always about my children. For men, privacy means not being told stuff that would hurt. For women, secrecy is having stuff go on behind your back. Only people who live outside cities realize the size of them. London turns out to be huge. There are great swaths, vast panoramas, a whole diaspora I'd never imagined. The place I live in tends to be manageably small, a few familiar journeys and destinations. Every man imagines that he will turn his suit like a double agent, that it can be twisted to his will with irony or comedy, that the man can undermine its origins. I tell you, once a girl's got a dose of novels, she's a pushover for iambic pentameter. Learning Jimmy Carr riffs off by heart is not the way to anyone's heart, unless you're Jimmy Carr. And remember, the two most attractive things in a man is a sense of danger and being able to make a girl feel really safe. The truth is, a mayor can actually do very little to alter the course of a huge city, run by the free market, that is home to banking, the engine room of capitalism. Shorts are silly. Men in shorts are silly men, and silly is the very worst thing a man can be. To a British politician, a police officer is as invisible as the railings. The Lib Dems are sidekicks. They were born to be sidekicks, and that's what they should concentrate on being. In fact, everybody should wake up smelling nice. I go further, there is not an excuse, ever, not to smell nice, particularly your feet. Learning Jimmy Carr riffs off by heart is not the way to anyone's heart, unless you're Jimmy Carr. And remember, the two most attractive things in a man is a sense of danger and being able to make a girl feel really safe. A cravat has to be approached with consummate self-confidence and a devilish nonchalance. A cravat has to be grasped by a man who knows how to treat a cravat. You see, the problem with Dave Cameron is that people know who he is. The less people know about him, the more he's likely to get re-elected. Women's handbags are incredibly heavy. You rarely get to pick one up, and, when you do, you wonder why anyone carries so much stuff around all day. The problem with a man bag is that it's called a man bag. The Lib Dems are sidekicks. They were born to be sidekicks, and that's what they should concentrate on being. The trouble with righting some wrongs is that it makes the remaining ones seem even more unbearable. The part that makes you unique is the bit people will like or fear, fall in love with, or try to avoid. The answer is that if God exists, he doesn't seem to mind if you believe in him or not. People who know there is a God and people who know there isn't live in exactly the same world. Same number of hours in the day, same weather, same football results. They both love their children and die of the same diseases.